Let us go to our first guest here on the program for today. He is a contributor to Eye on Baseball on CBSSports.com. You can follow him on Twitter.com/Matt Snyder CBS. It is Matt Snyder. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, man?
Very well, very
Been a
well.
while,
Thanks. Yeah, good when it's nice out here in the Northeast. We're in a great mood. When it's January, February, we're not going to answer that question so nicely.
Yeah.
Where are you based?
I live on the north side of Indianapolis, so Central Division type area. A lot of Cubs fans, a lot of Reds fans, some White Sox, a few Cardinals, some Tigers. Right in the middle of all that.
All right, well, let's get right into it. Lots of storylines around Major League Baseball right now. First, let's go to the races. Certainly a lot of drama right now in those wild card spots, and thank goodness we have 2 wild cards to now monitor. Just more fodder for everyone involved. The Seattle Mariners have really taken, not a stranglehold. They're only up. It's sort of a tentative situation, but they are up right now. A game over Detroit, 3 games over the Yankees, 4.5 over Cleveland, and now 5 over the Jays, who lost today. Your thoughts on whether or not they have the offense? We know they have the pitching, the offense, to stay ahead of Detroit.
Yeah, since late July, they made a few moves, such as getting Austin Jackson in that 3-way deal that sent David Price to the Tigers, and several other players have started hitting better. Cano started to have his power come around a bit. Kendrys Morales, who they added in also in a trade, has started to hit a little bit better. So it's not as terrible as it was before. I mean, we're definitely not going to confuse them with a good team by any stretch. They definitely can't hit like the Blue Jays, for example. But they don't have a terrible offense anymore. So given how good their pitching staff is, and McClellan's done wonders with that bullpen, by the way, I think that's an underrated aspect to them. They probably have enough to hang around. I still feel like the Tigers and Royals, between the two, one of them's going to win the division and one of them's going to be the second wild card. And I also think, the Indians would 9-13 right now. Last year they surged down the stretch. I wouldn't count them out either. So it's going to be a fun race. I don't even know if I would call anyone the favorite right now. It's a nice mix of teams too. Other than the Yankees being in there, I just
Yep.
Other than that.
You mentioned the Royals there, and I was going to ask you about that. So in covering baseball, I don't know how long you've been doing it, but certainly the Royals are not your average team, average contender. It's new for them, at least in the last 20 years. Are you all of a sudden seeing people coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh yeah, I was a Royals fan back since my college days"? Are you seeing a lot of Royals fan bandwagon jumpers?
There are a few, but over the last 3 or 4 years or so, I think there were a lot of Royals fans that were, they had the All-Star game. They were a very ballyhooed minor league system when Hosmer and Moustakas were highly coveted prospects after they traded Zach Greinke. A lot of people were looking forward to 2014, 2015 range with the team. So I think a lot of them, at least the astute ones, were already kind of just lingering and just ready to pounce and be really excited about their team. And right now they have great reason to be excited. I mean, 1985 was the last time, and I've said on several shows that I've been on, it seems like we put so much focus on the Pirates for not having a winning season for 20 years. The Royals haven't been to the playoffs since 1985. That's even longer of a drought, and just because they were 83 and 79 a few times doesn't really move the needle that much for me. So I think they should be getting a lot more coverage in terms of the playoff drought that it looks like they're going to break.
All right, big game tonight on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Angels versus the A's, a dead heat in that division. Unbelievable, 76 and 52 each. The A's weren't playing all that well, but now they've caught them 2 wins in a row, and they'll do battle tonight, in which should be a tremendous series. This one, of course, in Oakland. Despite the earthquake on the West Coast, no problem. This game will go on. Down the stretch, are you favoring one team over the other?
I think I would go with the A's just because it's really a complete toss-up. And while the Angels of late have been much better, well, I mean, other than the last 2 games where the A's got back on track and beat them, the Angels just lost Garrett Richards. And I already thought that they were going to start to have a little bit of an issue with starting pitching because even if Richards was healthy, this is the biggest workload he ever had as a professional starting pitcher. And I thought that he was going to tire anyway. Behind him, Jared Weaver's not an ace anymore. C.J. Wilson as a 3. He's been kind of shaky this year. And then you're counting on, like, Matt Shoemaker. Well, great story. And he's been real good so far. But his minor league track record says it's extremely unlikely that he's going to continue to pitch so well. So I thought they were down for at least a little bit of a fade. I still think that they'll win the first wild card with ease. But I think the A's are going to end up 2 or 3, maybe 4 games ahead at the end of the season.
Matt, do you think the Milwaukee Brewers will be able to hold on to the NL Central, or do you think based on St. Louis's pedigree and their history of late runs in the season, they'll be able to catch them?
Nothing would surprise me out of those two. I'm still leaning Brewers just because I really like the mix that they have going this year, and the Cardinals offensively haven't been able to maintain any kind of consistency. They added Masterson and Lackey in front of the trade deadline. Neither one's really been that good. We don't know when Walker's going to be back. And again, offensively, they've just been real inconsistent and they don't have any power. So I lean toward the Brewers now. Their pitching staff probably isn't as good.
And they have lost 3 in a row, though, the Brewers.
They just won today. So they're up. So they snapped that. And before that, they were red hot. I mean, they took 5 or 6 from the Dodgers in the span of a week and a half. And well, I tell you what, though, a lot's going to be decided. They play the Cardinals, I believe, 6 more times. So those head-to-head matchups will be fun. Again, I don't think I think I would lean toward the Brewers, but it's like a coin toss type lean. I would, if somebody said you have to wager money on either team, I wouldn't want to. I think it's going to go down to the wire.
All right, and finally, you mentioned the Yankees earlier. They've won a bunch of games in a row and starting to flex themselves a little bit. I know we talked about the AL wildcard race, but do you think that they're a team that will be a factor come September? That the Jeter factor here, might boost them a little bit?
They might. They need Pineda and Tanaka to stay healthy. Or Tanaka's building back up toward coming back, but they'll definitely need those guys because the patchwork rotation is not going to keep them in it. Brandon McCarthy has been excellent since they got him, but I just don't see how he can continue to be ace-like. I mean, he's a good pitcher and actually kind of underrated, but he's more like a 3 or 4, and he's pitching like a 1 right now. So I think that'll come back. It's just my feeling that I've had on them all year is, yeah, they're all right, but they're definitely not great. And their roster, they're just so old and fragile. It just feels like at some point somebody big is going to go down again, and they've already had it happen time and time again. And they've been. It's admirable that there's 6 teams over 500 right now, and you have to give them credit for keeping the ship afloat there. But I just don't see them keeping it together enough to beat out teams like the Indians, Royals, or Tigers, whichever one is when that division. And even I think the Blue Jays should be able to hang right with them too. So I don't think that they're going to go to the playoffs. I think that they'll hang around, but I definitely don't think that they're headed to the postseason.
He is Matt Snyder. Check out cbssports.com/MLB and look for the Eye on Baseball blog over there. Matt Snyder, CBS on Twitter, or Eye on Baseball on Twitter. Thanks so much, Matt.
All right, have a good one, guys.